What's up guys, and welcome back to another Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield video. We've done the trailer, we've done the map, and now we're going to look at a leak. Now this isn't just any old leak, this isn't the case of like, oh, someone claims to have some information and it could all be true or it could all be false. This leak has been validated. It was posted on 4chan, as most leaks are nowadays, on the 23rd of May. That obviously was about, I don't know, maybe a week or so, week and a half before the Pokemon Direct, okay? And since then, in that Direct itself, several of those details in the leak have been validated against it. So we'll look through this first just to sort of prove, I suppose, that the leak is 99% confirmed real. There is always the chance that the person maybe just had like a psychic breakthrough and, managed to read a mind of a Pokemon employee, who knows. Or the other possibility is, yes, they have got these details correct, but some of the other details they've added could be false. Some things that leakers do sometimes is they'll add false details alongside real ones, so in case an employee of Game Freak actually does see the leak, or obviously it gets put back to them, it's sort of mixed in with false information as well. So some people, it depends on the information they're giving out that's real, but then it could be disconfirmed as, oh wait, it's fake, it's fine, who knows. But it's probably going to be real. So in terms of the leak itself, here it is, as I said, posted on 4chan. If we highlight the stuff that was confirmed in the Direct, so we've got a rival named Hop, that we do indeed. The legendaries are a wolf, or the other legendary will be a wolf, either a shield main or a sword like the Great Wolf Sith, that's from Dark Souls. Dynamaxing is a new mechanic that will supersize Pokemon in specific areas. Sonia is Leon's former rival who is researching the Dynamax phenomenon at the best of her grandmother and professor of the game, that again is true. Milo is mentioned as one of the gym leaders, so again we heard about him, so yes, that's confirmed there. And then they mentioned you will have to go through the wild area at times, an open world biome that has a weather system and little pockets where Pokemon Dynamax and have to be beaten in a 4-person raid. That again was shown off in the Direct and confirmed, so from that information you can pretty much be sure that this is a real leak, or at least the person that wrote this knows some information from the game. There could always be things that are inaccurate in the leak itself, but we can hold it to a higher standard than other random leaks that just get put up there whenever. So we're going to break it down and actually look at the information bit by bit. So the first line, as well as obviously mentioning that the rival is named Hop, it also mentions we will be facing off against Bade, and Marnie. So it was mentioned indeed on the Pokemon website and in the Direct as well that Hop is one of our rivals. He's not our only rival, so apparently we're having two more, Bade and Marnie. Now we have no idea any more about them at all. They could be Pokemon trainers, they could be doing other things. So for example, maybe there's a contest system, so one of them could be focusing on contests, stuff like that. I guess there's a toss-up whether they are all Pokemon trainer rivals, similar to, I suppose, Cheren and Bianca in Black and White, because they were both pretty much just trainers. Bianca did fall off a bit towards the end, but you get the idea. Or whether they are rivals similar to the ones in X and Y. We had Serena, who was our true rival, which is probably what Hop would be, but then we also had Shauna, Tieno, and Trevor, I think, who were side rivals as such. They were friends, basically. You battled, I think, each of them once, but really not enough to actually care about battling them. So maybe Bade and Marnie are going to be similar to those. Hopefully not, because we do like to have a good few rivals. Especially, I think, if you imagine the anime where Ash tends to have several different rivals per region. So for example, in Sinnoh he had, I can't remember the names because I've not really watched the anime, but he has several different rivals that appear every now and again, and also he comes ahead and actually meets them in the Pokemon League. So something like that would be cool, where you have a few different trainers to level yourself against. It would be interesting. You just have to see how they go ahead and do it. But then the second line mentions the evil team for the game, and it says Team Yell is the gang in this game who are well-meaning fans of Marnie causing trouble. So straight off, talking about Marnie having fans, so clearly she is something that would have fans. Who knows what? Could be related to celebrity stardom. She could be a singer, she could be an actress, she could be a Pokemon trainer herself, and maybe that's why she has fans there. There are a few options, and we really don't know anything about Marnie, of course, apart from that she's going to be a rival, so we'll have to exactly see how that pans out. But in terms of the name Team Yell, it seems like we've picked up from Team Skull, and we're having hooligans again, basically, who are going to yell apparently, and they are well-meaning fans. They're well-meaning, so they're not actually evil like Team Rocket or Team Plasma, so that's similar to Team Skull again, who are causing trouble. So maybe they're just general hooliganism, and I think one idea that's being thrown around is this team is going to be based off of general sort of football supporters here in the UK. So if you think about football chants and stuff like that, it can be quite sort of yelly and hooligan-y. It sounds hooligan-y at least, so maybe it'll be basing it off of that. In terms of the team itself, I guess looking back at Alola, where we had Team Skull and we were like, oh, they're just like a gang, okay, not very interesting for like a evil team, but of course the real evil team was the Eva Foundation, so maybe we'll get something similar working in these games where Team Yell are just causing incidents here and there, but then the real challenge is or the real enemy is hidden away for a little bit more. One idea for this is, of course, we are in the UK, so one of the focuses will probably be on royalty. We have some sort of castle town in the centre of the region, so possibly maybe the royalty will turn out to be corrupt. That's one option, and maybe they'll be the real enemy or the real evil team. So that's one possibility there, but we'll have to see exactly how that works. Then we have some more information on the gym trainers and stuff like that, gym leaders. Apparently, to become part of the gym challenge, you'll have to get an endorsement. Bade gets an endorsement from Chairman Rose and his secretary Oleana. So I guess it makes sense we have to get an endorsement to actually challenge the gyms because they're in huge stadiums. It's not like in other games where it's just a case of like, oh yeah, you pop up to the gym, you're like, hey gym leader, I want a battle, thanks, bye. If there's a stadium, which means there's a properly organised match, there are people watching, stuff like that, it makes sense you have to get an endorsement to it, to actually participate in this competition. Maybe it's a slightly different format to previous gym areas, so rather than just visiting your gyms to get the badges and then if you have the badges you can compete in the league, it's a case of it's a full circle almost, so every trainer that enters into the gym challenge has to battle each gym, and then after that all the trainers end up going up to the Pokemon League and having something like that, having a fight up there. Maybe the Pokemon League will be, maybe that's what Victory Road will be, rather than having to just fight for a general area. You fight other trainers that have also got those 8 badges or have participated in the challenge. In terms of Chairman Rose and his secretary Oleana, obviously they sound formal, and to get an endorsement it makes sense that they have to be sort of a high figure in society. We have 2 main big cities in the region, of course. We have the Mechanical City and we also have Castletown, as I refer to them. So really Chairman Rose could be in either of those. Doesn't sound like, I don't get the feeling if that's Chairman Rose is like the royal leader or whatever, so my guess would be he's in the Mechanical City, so he's like the chairman of the city or something along those lines. I don't think he'd be in Castletown, but it's always possible. I don't think he'll be outside of these 2 towns though, cities, because the other ones just aren't large enough, so, or maybe it's a bit different. Another thing to think about, of course, if we need an endorsement to take part in the gym challenge is who's going to endorse us. We can assume that Leon will endorse Hop because he's his brother and Leon's champion, so he probably gets a free endorsement. But who's going to endorse us? It might be the Professor is one option, because the Professor might be a revered figure in society, so she might get an option to endorse, and we'll probably choose us. But moving on, we then get told that Eternatus is the evil legendary. Now this is a very vague statement. We don't know what an evil legendary is, as obviously people that always leak aren't too reliable in terms of terminology. So 2 options for the evil legendary. The one of them is it's the third of the main trio, so we have Zacian, Zamazenta, and possibly this third one who is the evil one of the trio, which would make a difference. In past trios, for example, we have Kyogre, Groudon and Rayquaza. Technically Kyogre and Groudon are the evil ones, because when their power is unleashed, Kyogre would flood the planet and Groudon would cover the planet in land. Rayquaza is the one that settles them down, he's the good guy. So it would make a bit of a difference for, Zacian and Zamazenta to be the good ones. They maybe, as we saw in the trailer, they spar a bit, but maybe when the third legendary arrives, who is a threat, they team up together to defeat the threat, possibly, and it could be the evil legendary as the third of the trio. Another option is it's really just like another legendary, a mythical of sorts, or another legendary you can just catch somewhere in the game, and it's evil, similar to, I guess, Darkrai. Darkrai is technically the evil legendary if you want to give an evil legendary a name. So maybe it's something along those lines. We really can't quite be sure. I mean, it could go either way with it. I'll probably be doing a video on the legendaries themselves, because there is a bit of speculation to have them from their names and so on and so forth, so that might link in, and we can obviously talk about Eternatus in there. Moving further down there, we have a bit more information about Dynamaxing, but not just Dynamaxing, Gigantamaxing. Yep, apparently there's like a powered up version even of Dynamaxing called Gigantamaxing. It's different from Dynamax as it changes what the Pokemon looks like. So we can assume it also makes it big too, but also then adds some new stuff to it. There are a few examples here. Meowth looks like a long cat. I had to search for this. It's a meme, so that's the meme there. So maybe it just like gets taller. I don't know. Lapras gets layers like musical bars on its shell, as well as musical notes. I don't know how that would look, but probably just like a powered up shell. And then finally, Pikachu looks like retro fat Pikachu, so chubby basically when he gets into this Gigantamax form. It seems like a weird thing, you know, you have Dynamax, that could easily be the gimmick for the game, but Gigantamaxing is like a powered up version, as I said, that might get introduced later on in the game. It seems like it's going to be only for specific Pokemon, especially if the appearance of those changing. Because imagine what, there's like 800 Pokemon. If you can allow every single Pokemon to Gigantamax, that's a lot of new designs you have to do, and I think Game Freak is too lazy for that. It could also be just for Pokemon in the area decks, rather than every single Pokemon in existence, but still a lot of work. So I feel like it might be specific Pokemon, so like Meowth, Lapras and Pikachu. Pikachu makes sense, Lapras makes sense because it could do with an evolution of sorts or something to it. And Meowth, it's a bit weird, but I guess Meowth, in the anime you could see a Gigantamax Meowth in the anime at some point, so maybe they're looking for that, who knows. What do I think of it? I don't really know. I know some people like it a bit more now that it's actually doing some changes. I just, it seems like it's just an alternate version of Mega Evolution basically, but with less changes, i.e. making Pikachu fat, changing up Lapras' shell a bit, and making the Pokemon big and only for 3 turns, whereas I find Mega Evolution is a lot more deep, because you can change the type, you can change the ability, you can, obviously the moves don't change, but they are dependent on what your typing is in terms of stab, so that can be taken into account there. And you can have multiple different strategies, especially if your Pokemon you're using is viable as both Mega and non-Mega. Your opponent actually has to figure out which one you are and actually make a guess on it. So I really like Megas more than that. Dynamaxing and so Gigantamaxing to some extent is basically just inflating the Pokemon. It's very less cheap for me, at least in my opinion. Of course, you guys might have different opinions, so let me know about that down below, as well as what you think about Gigantamaxing and whether that interests you more than Dynamaxing, or whether you would just like to see neither one, basically. But if we move on further again, we have a couple lines down. Some Pokemon, like Farfetch'd, will get regional evolutions like Surfetch'd. So Farfetch'd seems to be an evolution. Now, I don't like the terminology they've used of regional evolutions. As I said, we can't always rely on them having the right terminology. It's disappointing. But regional evolutions indicates, reading it straight there, that it's an evolution dependent on the region. However, of course, Farfetch'd has not got an evolution to begin with, so it might just be like a new evolution. However, the next bit of text says Meowth looks like a ball of spiky grey fur. Now, of course, Meowth is Meowth. He's a base Pokemon, so maybe they mean Meowth's evolution, which would mean that Meowth is going to have a split line. It's going to have Persian on one hand, and then it's going to have a new evolution of a spiky grey fur cat as another one, and it would have a split evolution line based on region itself. I don't think we've ever had a region-based evolution before, if I remember correctly. Whereas, I guess the Alolan forms to some extent could be. So, for example, if you evolve your Pikachu in Kanto, you get a Kantonian Raichu. If you evolve it in Alola, you get an Alolan Raichu. So maybe it's similar to this. That's maybe why they mentioned regionals. But of course, Farfetch'd didn't have an evolution anyway. So maybe it's both. Maybe it's a bit of Farfetch'd getting a new evolution just because it's getting a new evolution. But also there are now regional evolutions similar to forms. I suppose it would just form the forms, wouldn't it? But I guess it's whether you would call this spiky grey fur a Persian or not. It would entirely depend on that. And Meowth already has a different form for Alola, so I don't know why they would do anything like that. So this is a bit interesting. We can assume, since they've mentioned Farfetch'd and Surfetch'd, that at least we're getting that. But we'll have to actually see for the reveal whether or not how it works exactly. This sort of thing would normally be revealed a bit later in the cycle, so possibly around August time would be my guess if this is real and will get revealed. There's possibly like new evolutions to existing Pokemon, or new regional forms, or new regional evolutions, something like that. So we're going to have to wait a few months to actually get more details on it, unless there's obviously another leak beforehand, but that could also be made up, so we never really know. Moving on though, we have some new Pokemon they've mentioned, and that is Squovet and Greedent. They've said they are chipmunk Pokemon who will hide in berry trees and attack randomly if you shake for too many berries. If they do attack you, you lose half of those berries. So we know the berry trees are in the wild area, and we've seen a picture of some sort of squirrel or chipmunk Pokemon already on the boy's t-shirt. So it seems like this is going to be linked in here somehow. So you can shake the tree for berries, but yeah, obviously apparently if you do too much you will get attacked by this new chipmunk Pokemon. We said squirrel when we were looking at the trailer analysis, but I guess yeah, chipmunk is similar of course. Squovet, in terms of the naming, we have squir, so squirrel, and then et, I guess, yeah, there's a few different things in there, but it could be a mix of a squirrel and a chipmunk basically. But for Greedent, you can see we have greed, so it's obviously going to like a lot of nuts, a lot of berries itself, so it's going to be greedy basically. So we'll have to see. I assume they would get revealed before release, because they're possibly like the rodent Pokemon of the series, of the generation, possibly, because it makes sense, they are little chipmunks similar to Sentret or Rattata, so that might be, we might even see them at E3 in a couple of days time, so we'll see then. Then moving up further, we have some information on the gyms. They mentioned that the 4th gym is the first fairy type gym. Now ignore that because obviously we had one in X and Y, so carry on. Led by an actress named Opal, so the name of a gym leader there. Milo, Nessa and Kabu are the first ones, the first gym leaders, so we have a few new gym leader names, but it does confirm there's a fairy type gym in the game, and that means it's probably the one by the glowing mushrooms, as we theorised, because, you know, glowing mushrooms, fairy type, basically. There are a few more gym details though, and that's exactly how the gyms work, and that is, before fighting the gym leaders you actually have to complete a challenge, so it seems like they're either, similar to trials in Alola, in that you have to do something that's not just battling, and then you have a battle. So it doesn't look like there's any gym trainers again, but it looks like there's always a battle at the end, similar to how there was always a totem battle at the end of the Alolan trials. So similar, it's like they're combining the two ideas together. But they then mention the different types of challenges we have to go through. For example, Milo has a herding sheep Pokemon named Wooloo, but Pamper, which are electric corgi Pokemon, will start them and send them wrong elsewhere. So I guess before we get there, Milo is the grass gym, obviously, Nessa the water gym, and then Kabu is either the rock gym, possibly, or the one in the mechanical city. The leaker did mention that the 4th gym is the fairy type gym, so we could assume we're going to hit the grass gym beforehand and the rock gym beforehand, since we literally have to walk past them, but the water gym possibly as well, so that's 3, and then fairy is 4th, which means we don't actually have to do a gym battle in the mechanical city. So I'm thinking maybe that's a skip over, you don't have to go there straight away, you return later on in the game, similar to how you return into Normon in Ruby Sapphire and so on, or it might be that the water type gym is blocked off until a bit later in the game, and obviously you have to do the mechanical gym first. Who knows exactly, just some ideas to throw around. But in terms of, so Wooloo, we know Wooloo, newly revealed, and Pamper, the electric corgi Pokemon, will start them and send them rolling elsewhere. So if it's based on the UK, we will see hoping for a corgi Pokemon, because obviously Queen Liz does like her corgis, so this is quite interesting and quite nice. Pamper makes sense, being pampered, being royal, and probably get an evolution of some sort, so that'll be interesting to wait and see. In terms of Nessa's gym challenge, she has us running, I'm assuming it's a girl, she has us running through a maze where water blocks the way, which again confirms pretty much that it's a water type gym, otherwise why would there be water? And then Kabu doesn't really give us any clues onto what type it is, but he requires us to catch a Pokemon and get 5 points, I would assume catch 5 Pokemon, but you have to be in a party battle with another trainer who is also trying to catch it. Now that's an interesting line, because does that indicate online play? I doubt it, because that would be linking in the gym battle to being online, which we don't want to do. Of course they could always do a second option where if you can't get online, then you can do it with an NPC. I think it'll just be an NPC regardless, because of course you can never rely on it, so I'm thinking maybe like a double battle, where you are with this other trainer and whoever catches it first wins. Maybe, or maybe there's a new battle type where there are multiple trainers battling the same Pokemon. I don't know, something similar I guess to the Battle Royale in Alola, except with like a wild Pokemon right in the middle, ready to get absolutely screwed over. Who knows, there's a few ideas there, it's quite interesting either way, we'll see how it plays out. Moving on to the second set of information, where it was just a reply system on the comments. The new information we have regarding the wild area is that we will randomly see nearby players and interact with them to get their league cards and items. So we obviously know we're going to be doing something with other players in terms of the raid battles and possibly the wild area itself. The information on that was a bit iffy. We don't know whether we can just run around and meet other people in the wild area, or whether it's a case of you have to go to like a meeting point and then join a lobby. But this would indicate that there are other players just around the wild area anyway, and not just assigned to the lobby. However, I know a lot of people will be getting excited now saying, oh my god, open world, co-op exploration. However, I don't think so, because it says you will interact with them to get their league cards and items. Interacting with them does not seem like a multiplayer term. I mean, it does, but the way it's written, to get their league cards, you say hello to them and you get their card to then be able to communicate with them in the future or invite them to a lobby, and items. And that's just like case, I guess, if you talk to them then they can give you an item. I'm thinking this might be similar to the Festival Plaza from the Sun and Moon games, where you're in the plaza, there are other players on the plaza, but they are not the actual players, they are just other people that have also been online in the game. I'm thinking it might be like that. That's just my maybe cynicism, because I don't trust Game Freak to actually be able to put a lot of effort into the games nowadays. But I guess we'll see. It's two options either way. It's a case of they're just the online avatar, or whether you can actually work together and do stuff. I mean, there's not much you can do apart from the raid battles, but maybe we'll see. Moving on next though, we have some information about camping. Now, I speculated about this in the trailer analysis video because we saw this picture of Sobble with a tent in the background, and indeed camping is how you play with Pokemon now. You get 2 feathers, a feather toy and a toy Pokeball, which can raise friendship. You can also make curry, which will raise stats and friendliness. So yes, it's basically your version of Pokemon Ami or Pokemon Refresh for these games. You go camping with Pokemon, you play with some toys with them, and then you can feed them curry. Basically the same as before, just with a different coat of paint on front of it, so nothing too exciting really. Next up though, we have a quick one. Pokemon will not walk beside you on the overworld map. I think by now at this point we had sort of assumed that was the case by omission. It hadn't been shown in the trailer. We had seen plenty of shots of the players running around with no Pokemon. Of course they could be hiding it, but unlikely, especially since this person's now confirming it. Which is a shame, because it would have been nice, but maybe they'll save it for the Diamond and Pearl remake. That would be quite interesting. Nope, next up no, we have some information about the starter Pokemon, each one. So first up we go down the list. Scorbunny will have fighting moves, okay? We've seen that already as a double kick in one of the screenshots. However, the person says but is pure fighter. Now of course this doesn't make sense, because for a fire type starter to become pure fighting it would have to lose the fire type, and that's just not going to happen, I'm afraid. So we think they mean but is pure fire. So they're saying they have fighting type moves, but they're actually just a pure fire type. It becomes a reboot when it evolves, but they don't remember the final evolution name, except that it looks like a fighter. It looks humanoid as well. So they're saying that it's going to evolve into basically a fighting Pokemon, or fighting style Pokemon, but not actually a fighting type. Not a huge surprise, but it's a bit disappointing that it's not going to be like fire electric or fire steel or something like that, because that would be more interesting than just pure fire. So if that's true, Scorbunny's a bit of a disappointment, but I guess at least it's not firefighting. Next up on the list is Sobble. Apparently Sobble becomes Sisile and then Inteleon, which is a chameleon with a spy theme. And this fits in because it fits the design for Sobble anyway, or you could see it evolving into a chameleon. And it has a spy theme. We can see that again because Sobble can become invisible. So that's quite interesting, being Sisile and then Inteleon, so we actually have names, so when they do eventually reveal the mid-evolutions we can compare here, same with Reboot 2. Inteleon makes sense, intelligence and chameleon, and Sisile is a bit of a different one. You'd have to see what the middle stage was actually like. Finally though we have Grookey. Apparently Grookey will end up as a giant gorilla that beats a wood drum to attack, which isn't too surprising because it has its stick, so it's like a drummer Pokemon. So you can assume that when it evolves first time, it's going to get maybe a little drum or maybe 2 sticks. And then finally, in its final form, it's going to be a giant gorilla with a giant drum to beat. In terms of typings, as said, Scorbunny's going to end up being pure fire apparently. For Sobble being a spy chameleon theme, pure water and water is a good start. In terms of spying, what types make sense there? Dark fits because it's like a dark type, it's sneaky. However, we had Greninja very recently, so I would hope they wouldn't do that again. So the other option is a ghost type, especially because it can become invisible. It can sort of like, seep into the shadows and hide away. So maybe that'll be where it links there, a water ghost type, which is, I'd say I'd be down for that. That's pretty cool. Apart from that, maybe it could even stay pure water, honestly, but that would be pretty boring. Then for Grookey, I mean, all we get is the giant gorilla with a wood drum, so at least that'll be grass type. It could be pure grass, similar to the others, I suppose. They could go for just pure grass, pure water, pure fire. But it could also, I suppose, be fighting if it's got, beating a wood drum, so maybe it's strong and that sort of thing. Rock, and there's another one maybe, I don't know. But apart from that, there's not much too much to go off of for Grookey at the moment, so hopefully we get some interesting typings, like with the water ghost, but we'll have to see. There's one final thing they mentioned right at the bottom, after they talk about how they are angry and upset. Who knows what that means, maybe they got fired, for example. But they've said then finally, the best Pokemon so far is the blue seagull, who, when it dives, either gets a Barracuda in its mouth or a Pikachu, which it launches at its enemy. So obviously Pelipper's the closest we've got to this because it can hold stuff in its mouth, so I suppose the design might be similar to that. But it sounds like it would be a new move with this Pokemon, so they dive under the water, maybe it's similar to Dive, is that it's a 2-turn move, or maybe it's all in one. They dive under the water and then they come back out with something, so a Barracuda or a Pikachu. So it could also be not a move and just lore, but I think it might be a move, I don't know. So maybe if it's a Barracuda, I guess maybe it's an existing fish, like I can't remember the name, what the one I want to go for at the moment. The spiky one, Bastino, the one from Unova that's spiky and a fish. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but maybe it'll throw a fish at you, or maybe that's a new Pokemon entirely, or it throws a Pikachu. So that's interesting. Maybe it's just an Easter egg, or they could make it link into how sometimes moves have different percentages of doing damage, different things. So for example, it's got a 20% chance to paralyze. Maybe that 20% chance to paralyze is when it finds a Pikachu and shoots that at you. So for example, it dives down, it throws a fish out. Okay, no chance to paralyze, it's just going to do damage. It dives down, this time it throws a Pikachu out, so it's going to paralyze you instead, or it's going to do it as well as the damage. So it's possible we could see moves with different effects depending on chance. I mean, we already see that anyway. Maybe they could just formalize it with actual animations and so on, so would be interesting, I suppose. But that's the end of that leak there. That's all the information we can see from it. Most of it seems to be fairly sort of above board and fairly expected, I suppose, apart from maybe the Gigantamax thing I wasn't entirely expecting, because we got one mechanic already, just adding some more to it, I suppose. But we got plenty more to go from there. So new Pokemon, evolution possibilities for the starters. That's another thing, obviously. You can let me know down below whether you actually like the sound of Scorbunny being a pure fire, or whether you would have preferred something else. And the same goes for Sobble and Grookey too. And let me know what you think about Team Yell and what you think they'll be about, and whether you think, similar to me, that we'll have another overarching evil that might be the royal line in Galar. Do let me know down below. But apart from that, that's going to be it for me for today. I'll probably be back with some E3 videos when those come out. Later on in the week, if they get anything good. So yeah, I'll be seeing you then, guys, but thank you for watching. I'll be seeing you next time. Goodbye, my friends.